I realize I never actually greet you when I start these podcasts, and I think that could be rude. But if you think about it, I think it could also be looked at as polite too. Because by foregoing, you know, this decorum, I am actually preventing you from being inundated with pleasantries, right? But then I did a whole nother thing, which was use a bunch of big words to make it seem like, oh, I'm smart. But really, I just read a dictionary for a total of 7 seconds, and then I could use these three words that I guess most of the people in the world don't know or don't use on a regular basis, right? It's not part of their day to day vernacular, which is another word that I don't know if the general public uses very often. Vernacular, it's a weird word, but it just means basically like imagine if every person in the world had a word bank. Their vernacular is their word bank. So, you're welcome. I just expanded your word bank. I just Yeah, and a word bank is a box. So congrats, I just filled up your box and made it bigger. What's up? What? But yeah, I realized I never actually say, hey, so, hey, welcome to the podcast. And now that that's over, let's get into what I have to talk about. And that's that I'm a changed man. That's right. I'll be the first to admit it, even though many people have told me before. But I'm going to be the first to admit it to you. Maybe you haven't thought about it, but I have been doing a lot of deep thinking. That's the only thinking I do, actually. I'm a very, deep thinker. When I do things, I like to do them deep. Pizza, thoughts, and you can think about the rest. That's right. Sea diving, deep sea diving. I'm not into that. I've, been offered some opportunities to deep sea dive, be out there with the fishes. But you know what the term or like the phrase is, right? Swimming with the fishes. Isn't that when you get like killed? So that doesn't bode well, That saying. So to go out and like literally swim with fishes, I feel like you're asking for it, right? Now I'm not victim blaming if anyone's ever been like killed by a fish, but you know, you didn't see that one coming. I bet whoever wrote that article also had a field day with that one. They were like, the diver goes swimming with fishes. Little did he know he was going to be swimming with fishes pretty soon here. Okay. That's, God, what a way to go. Do you ever think about that? Like certain situations you are in life, and then you're like, I better like be careful of this, or else whoever writes the article about my death's going to be like, there's like a really good pun here. Guys, come on, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and we can use their lifetime to take up that opportunity, Like, this is a joke I've written before, but imagine someone dying in a car crash where they crash into a hearse. Come on. That's comedy right there. Someone getting in a car crash with a hearse and dying? I mean, come on. There was one hearse on the scene, but after a fatal accident, suddenly there were two. That could also be like a math riddle. There was a hearse and a car driving straight at each other. There was a car accident, and then there were two hearses. Explain the following. Oh, I get it, because now both cars have a dead body in them. Okay. Anyways, what do I mean by I'm a changed man? Well, before the pandemic, I think I was doing a certain thing. There was something that was like classic Gauruv, It was that whenever I walked by someone, I would always like smile at them and, give them a little like head nod, like, as they walk by. I even remember when I did my first internship at Intel, I was 17 years old. It was the summer of 2016. And I remember the one thing I like really noticed from walking the halls of Intel's campus was that everyone I passed, I tried to like, give a smile and like, a little head nod. And they would all look at their feet. They were like, I don't care for you. And so I was like, that's weird. Is it me? I was getting gaslit by silence. I was like, am I the problem? They weren't even like looking at me. And I was like rethinking everything. I even went home and I told my mom, I'm like, yeah, it's great. I love working there. But I'm like, why is no one like reciprocating my, a little bit of this? Could it be that they're so busy with their job that even this acknowledgement of another human might overflow their plate? Was I actually like I said earlier, inundating someone with pleasantries once again. Oh my God. It's a pattern in my life. My niceness pushes people over the edge. Yeah, I did notice that too. Anytime I would, give someone a nod, I never saw them again. Now you might be like, Garb, it's a big campus. What are the chances you see someone, a repeat person again? I know. But what if it meant something else? What if no one saw them ever again? What if they went swimming with the fishes because I nodded and smiled at them? I'm just going to present the dots. I'm not going to tie them together. Okay? You connect them. Why is that? Because you're a child and children do those books. Okay? I remember when I was younger, there was one of those connect the dots books. I had one, and it was a picture of a gingerbread man. But I took rules so literally back then that I would connect all dots with a straight line. So there's some like connect the dots book out there. I think it's probably in my bedroom in my hometown. And there's just a completely straight gingerbread man out there. That's right. He's only got eyes for ginger woman, which for a short phase of my life, I think I could relate to. No. Yeah, no, there's a weirdly like straight angled gingerbread man picture out there because of me. But I would always, usually like look at someone and be like, give them a little smile. Just because I thought it was nice, to acknowledge another person in the world. But then the pandemic happened and I kind of like fell out of this habit because we started wearing masks and so that just goes away. If you're going to look at someone, you can kind of like give them a nod, but you don't do much with the mouth. So now that we're, kind of coming out of the pandemic, this practice that I was always, doing of smiling at someone when I walk by them, I've kind of like lost it. I haven't, worked that muscle, my mouth. Which, during the pandemic, I don't know if a lot of people were using their mouths, all cooped up in their own places of residence. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so I kind of noticed over the past few months as, I've been able to walk around without a mask that I haven't really, been doing that where I'm like, someone walks by and I go, hey, I've been the, grown up Intel employee that I saw when I was 17 that just looks at his feet and just walks on. I'm like, we don't need to bother each other. And I didn't like that because that old thing. It's like when you grow older, it doesn't mean you stop having fun. It's like when you stop having fun, that means you're growing older or some bullshit cliche like that. And I felt like bad every time I'd walk by a person and not like smile at them because I was like, oh my God, am I becoming like a cranky older person? And so I've like gotten back into it. Like anytime I see someone, like give them a nod or like, hey. And so I left my apartment earlier this week and there was a guy leaning up against the railing kind of like outside my apartment, about 10 feet away from my apartment's front door. And as I walked past him, I went, hey. And I couldn't actually see him because the sun was shining straight onto him, so he was actually just one big glare. I don't even know how logistically like that makes sense, but for some reason the sun was shining like perfectly on me and on him to where like I couldn't see his face. But I knew that there was a person there, so when I went by, I just went, and I kept walking. And then I walked about 15 feet. I was actually turning a corner and I hear excuse me? Excuse me? And it was on the second one where I turned around and I was like, oh, yes. And then he, does one of those little power walk, jog, half jog things. When you're trying to be a gentleman when you cross the street and you're like, oh, it might not be any faster, but you kind of do a little slow run walk to show someone that, yeah, I have morals. If we were in an escape room together and, it really came down to it, I wouldn't kill you. I would just die right next to you. Actually, you know what? I would kill myself so you could eat me. I'm that nice of a person. But he did one of these little run walks to catch up with me. And he said, are you Gauruv? I was like, yeah, that's my name. And he's like, you're Gauruv Virk. I was like, yeah, 2 for 2. Good job. No. And he's like, bro, I watched one of your videos before I came here. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And I was like, oh, do you live in this apartment complex? He was like, yeah. I was like, no way. Me too. And he's like, wow. He's like, well, it's good to see you. And then he was like, what are you doing out here? I'm like, I I do things. I don't just stay in my apartment. I know it looks like it. If you follow me online, you might be like, this guy doesn't do anything. But I was like, no, I get out sometimes. You know, I'm a guy. I'm a person. And I was like, where are you at, by the way? Which apartment are you at? Maybe like that's the reason I haven't seen you. We're just not close to each other. And he points just to his left. He's like, that's my apartment. I was like, no shot. That's where you live? He was like, yeah. And I was like, that's where I lived 3 years ago. He lived in my apartment that I was in when I was a sophomore. Do you remember this setting in my videos, like from 2 or 3 years ago? That was my old apartment. And I actually do live in the same apartment complex. What happened is that I forgot to renew my lease when I was a sophomore. So I had to find a different apartment because they already like signed it off to someone else. And I got an apartment that's actually just right across from that one. Like if you go in the living room of that apartment and the living room of my apartment, we can just look at each other. It's literally like a 10-second walk to my old apartment. I was like, no way, you're in this apartment. He was like, yeah. I was like, interesting. I was like, there's 2 rooms in there. The left one and the right one. I was in the right one. Which one are you in? He was like, that's the one I'm in. I was like, oh. I was like, so you're the guy that like took my apartment after me. I was like, okay. He was like, do you want to come in? And then I was like, oh, really? He was like, yeah, I actually have something for you. I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, here, follow me. So he goes to his apartment and I just wait outside the front door because I'm not going to just walk into someone's apartment. I always feel weird when people like invite themselves to your things. I'm like, no, you got to be invited. So I stayed at the front step and he was, goes to his room, but then peeks out. He's like, what are you doing? Come in here. I was like, are you sure? He was like, yeah. And he turns on a light and it like flickers on and there's just like stuff everywhere. It's very different than from when I lived there. I kept it very minimalistic in the living room, because for all intents and purposes, I really just lived there alone. So I didn't want to like do anything in the living room that I had to maintain. I really just lived in my room. That's not true. I did, dress up the living room a little bit. And then my mom was always nice. During holidays, my mom would always come and put like decorations for like Halloween, like Christmas, Valentine's Day. She'd always jazz up the place, So it did look nice. And I always, tried to dust the living room so it didn't look like, no one lived there. I always tried to keep the lights on, It's so weird. My roommate at the time, and when I said I lived alone, I kind of did. I had a housemate, actually, but he didn't go to school fall quarter. And then winter quarter, it was like I actually started playing a little game with myself. I realized about week 2 of winter quarter, my sophomore year, oh yeah, my housemate moved back in. He was done with his 1 quarter break. He's back. And then I noticed it was about 3 weeks and we hadn't seen each other yet. Like I would get back and I noticed his door's closed and his light's on. I'm like, oh, he's here. And then it became this like weird game to me. I was like, I wonder how long I can go without running into him. And I made it 7 weeks. I lived with this guy 7 weeks in the same apartment and never actually saw him. And then week 7, I came back to my apartment one day and he was in the kitchen. I was like, hey, Kevin. He was like, hey, what's going on? And he was like, by the way, there's like some frozen PB&Js in the freezer. You're welcome to them. I was like, okay, sick. I love PB&Js. And he was like, I know, I've been watching you. I'm like, what? No, I'm kidding. I set up the cameras around the place. He didn't. No, I didn't do that. But yeah, this guy that I just met, he flipped on the lights and I said, I didn't even like realize I did it, but out loud I went, wow. And he was like, I know. It's a cheap place. You know that though. And I was like, what? What do you? I was like, this is a nice place. But I just agreed with him because I'm like, oh, don't get into that. I was like, yeah, I know it is a piece of shit. And he was like, well, whoa, don't agree with me that much. I was like, oh, I thought we were just shitting on this place. He was like, no, it's still a nice place. Jesus, God. I mean, I had to clean it up when you were last here. God, fucking left this place like a pigsty. I was like, hey, I was neat, man. He was like, really? Then why do I have this? And then he goes to his room and I follow him and I look down and there's 2 twin beds. The far one is just used for like storage, but then the closest one you can tell is the one he sleeps on because it has a comforter, a duvet, whatever word you prefer. And I look down at his comforter and I look back up at him and I'm like, dude, we have the same exact comforter. That's right. He had this, okay, well, there's clothes on there, but this comforter that's, I've had for I think, yeah, all my college career for the past 5 years, he had the same exact one. He was in my old apartment. He was in my old room. He had my comforter. I was like, what the fuck? And then he was like, yeah, and here you go. And he hands me these 3 pieces of paper. And he's like, I really don't throw stuff away. So I've just held on to these. And I recognized your name was on them. So I just kind of kept them up there. And he hands me these 3 sheets of paper. In the top right corner, it says Gauruv Virk, 11319, History 18B. He had 3 pages of my History 18B notes from week 2 of my sophomore year of college. First one's titled FDR Internment Order. Next one's titled Alien Land Law of 1913. And the last one is about how Captain Richard H. Pratt once said, kill the Indian in him and save the man. And he gave me these 3 pieces of paper, and they're pretty much like in mint condition. Like, you can see the fold of the binder on this edge right here, you know? But besides that, there's not a single mark on them or any aging of the paper, any yellowing of the paper. I don't know if this is how you use the word, but the paper did not patina at all. I know patina's like rusting and shit, but yeah, no, that paper didn't age at all. And I, January 2019? So yeah, these papers are 40 months old. And he had them in pristine condition. He said, here you go. I was like, we have the same comforter? And he was like, yeah, but here are your papers. I'm like, we're just going to gloss over the fact how weird that is. That you, also an Indian man, are in my room with the same comforter and my fucking notes. That's not weird at all. I don't know. Maybe I just think things are weirder than they are. But I was like, this is mad weird. Anyways, we get to talking a little more, and then I learned a little bit about him. He's a 4th year. Well, actually, yeah, he's a 4th year, but he's going to do a 5th year, and he's going to graduate in winter quarter, which is what I did. I took 5 years, and my 5th year I graduated winter quarter, and that's exactly what he's doing. It was just fucking weird. But then, we started talking a little bit about me, because that's what we had in common, We both knew me before that day. And he was like, yeah, I actually did catch, he was like, I love your videos. He was like, I did also catch you on this one girl's channel. And I was like, I'll let him find it. You could just tell, he was searching his mind. I was like, I'll let him figure this one out. And he was like, Tia. And I was like, yeah, I know Tia. She's a good friend. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah, I've seen her around a few times. He's like, oh, cool. I was like, yeah. He's like, I don't really remember what that video was about, but he was like, I just remember it being really funny. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, luckily she was in the video, or else I don't know who would have been funny. And then he laughed, pity laugh. I was like, all right, I don't need your handouts, okay? I know you agree. But yeah, we got to talking. His roommate came, and he was like, wait, why is Gauruv Virk here? I was like, why are we throwing my full name around? I was like, do you know who I am? He was like, yeah. And then I got to talking to him, but I never caught his name. So then when he ran off, I gave the first guy my phone number. He was like, we'll get dinner sometime. I was like, sure. So I entered his name into my phone and his phone number. And then he was like, I should give you my roommate's information. He's going to kill me if he finds out I didn't give you his information. I was like, yeah, sure, put it in there. And he starts typing that guy's name, and I'm not going to tell you his name. I don't want to, it's weird to announce someone's name, right? I don't know if they want that. But he puts in his name. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this guy for the past 3 years has followed me and unfollowed me on Instagram like 7 to 8 times. I don't know why he's done it. The first 3 times I refollowed him, because when I was a sophomore, I was always just following people back, because there weren't that many people following me. Now, if someone I don't know in real life follows me, I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I noticed back then, my Instagram timeline started being more people I don't know in real life than people I do know in real life. So I was like, I should stop following people I don't know, because now it's just what the fuck is this, But luckily now, it's not cluttered with all these random people. So now I get to see everyone I went to high school with getting engaged. This past week, 3 people I went to high school with got engaged. And then I think last week, didn't I tell you, like, these 2 girls got engaged that I went to high school with? Did I miss the memo? Like, is this, like, what the fuck? Like, were we supposed to get married by now? I didn't know that. I am, like, kind of behind. Was there, like, paperwork we had to do? Is this like when you search for a roommate when you're going to college? Did you have to, like, fill out a form and they match you with someone and then you get married? Like, I completely missed this. It's weird. Am I glad I missed the deadline? You know, it's like when someone's like, well, actually, it's good that I didn't go to Harvard. I'm like, okay, well, that's, you either forgot to turn in your paperwork or you got rejected. Okay. Anyone that's like, well, actually, I didn't even want to go to that college. And then anyone that's like, actually, I like not being in a relationship. Okay. Is that your decision though? You know, who really likes you not being with that college or person? You or the college or person, you know? Who called the shots on that one? But yeah, this guy, his roommate, yeah, I was like, oh, this guy's known who I was for like 3 years too. After, then I followed him back like those first 2 or 3 times, and then I don't know what he was doing. He kept unfollowing me, following me, and so I just unfollowed him. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I met him in real life. I was like, oh my God, I'm definitely not going to follow him now. No. No, they were both very nice gentlemen, but it was fucking trippy as fuck. Like all the things, also just like being back in my apartment. Like the first, I took a step in and I told the guy, I was like, man, I've even seen this room in 3 years. And I don't think he understood, like, maybe it's just me. Like nostalgia is such an insane thing to me, but like I was so shocked in the moment. Like I was trying to take it all in and he was just like, I have 3 papers for you. Do you want them? And I don't, but it was nice to get back. But I was like, do you not understand the gravity of this? Like how fucking weird this is. Also, something I've noticed, I attach smells to a lot of memories. Like sometimes I think I'll look at a picture and I'll be like, I remember smelling what that is. And I walked in my apartment expecting a certain smell and I smelled something completely different and like threw me for a loop. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Yeah, it was a trippy fucking experience, man. But it was dope. It's a very nice guy that lives there. Very nice guys that live there. But I had never been to a place that I used to live that is now, occupied by someone else. It was trippy. Oh. But it was cool. You know? I don't know. Anyways, I went and got dinner with Alex Fisher Wagner. You guys know Alex? Yeah. This is his YouTube. And he, it's weird. Alex and I are good friends, right? I'm like asking you. But we don't really even hang out that often. And we don't know much. Actually, I know a lot about him, but he doesn't know much about me, And so it's weird because, like, we are good friends, but I think if you were to, like, write down the qualifications for good friends, I don't think we'd meet it, the requirements to be good friends, but we are. So what is that? I don't know. Because the last time I saw Alex, I think was like 3 months ago. And I saw that on social media he was in Hawaii, and so I wanted to I don't know why, I just felt like it was right to like ask him how it was. So I said, how's Hawaii? I texted him. But then I thought that was weird. So then I had to like kind of like tell a joke to soften it. Because how fucking weird is that? You haven't seen someone in 3 months and you're like, hey, how's that place you're at, huh? So I said, how's Hawaii? And then like 3 minutes later I said, they still got sand over there? I was like, because I have to make a joke, right? I can't just be like, how's this thing? So I said, how's Hawaii? They still got sand over there? And then he texted me, he's like, it's going amazingly. And he was like, yeah, they also have water. And I was like, that's awesome. I didn't respond then because I was like, I don't even know what to do now. It felt weird. I just felt like I needed to text him for some reason. You ever get that? You're like, I need to reach out to this person And then you do it. No, I don't do it most of the time. I have a lot of thoughts where I'm like, I should reach out to this person. But then I always veto it. It always goes to the Supreme Court, and they're like, fuck that. But the Supreme Court is made of 9 of me's. Just 9 Gauruvs. All handsomer than the next. No. But for some reason I pulled the trigger with Alex. I was like, I should text him. And I did. And that was like 2 weeks ago. So then he texts me when he gets back from the wine and says, hey. And I said, is for horses. And he said, I hate that joke. I was like, yeah, it's not a great one. But then he was like, listen, I'm going to go on vacation for 3 weeks in the next week. So we should get together because I'm not going to be around when you graduate college. I was like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. So we agreed to lunch. No, we didn't. We agreed to dinner. And we went to a great Japanese place a couple days ago. Talked about things, talked about life. Life is part of things, but I felt like I needed to get more specific because, things. What do you do at school? I study. Yeah? Cool. So I shouldn't have asked you. I remember after my second year of college, actually, it was the spring break during my sophomore year of college. There was this Easter party I went to, and a mother had asked me, Sandy sat down and was like, how's college? And I said, good. Yeah. And she was like, okay. I was like, Then she got up and left. And I remember my sister was at that table too, and she's like, what the fuck was that? I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, why didn't you give her more? I was like, I don't want to talk more about my experience. And she's like, that's part of conversations, right? You got to give a little. I was like, I don't though. I don't want to talk to Sandy in that moment. Sandy's lovely. I love Sandy. But in that moment, I was like, I don't want to offer you things about my life if I don't need to, I have this weird thing. Yeah, I don't think people are not what is it? Not deserving, but I don't think people. No, yeah, not deserving because that means they have to earn it or something. You sick fuck. You have this weird game in your head where people got to meet these qualifications for you to talk to them. No, I'm not that way. I don't like just offering up things about my life for the sake of conversation. So I'm not gonna tell you about my life. I'm gonna try to tell jokes so we can hopefully break this thing off into a tangent and then we can run down that road for a while before you get bored of me, which, if history repeats itself, shouldn't take long. So yeah, I try to hijack our, conversations with bullshit so that hopefully, you can only be around bullshit so long before it starts to smell and you want to get out of there. But if you can put up with my bullshit long enough, then guess what? You eventually become my friend. But luckily, a lot of people don't like the smell of shit, of the bull variety. But there's some of those fucking crazy people that they're like, I'll put up with this for a while. And I'm like, I don't know why you're doing that to yourself. Are you a masochist? Do you like this kind of sick fucking torture of talking to Gauruv? I talk to this guy all the time. I fucking hate it. You're willingly sitting here doing it. So yeah, I didn't give Sandy much. I said, college is good. And she was like, yeah. I was like, okay. It's also her fault. She could have dug a little deeper, I think that's why I do it, I want to test how much you actually give a shit. Because I'm not going to offer you stuff about my life if you're just going to take it and run. That's the thing. You need to, that's actually, you know what? I'm actually a sick fuck. I put you through a little test to see if you're deserving or of knowing these things about me. And if you can sit through my bullshit, then there you go. Guess what the prize is? You get to really know who I am. But I'm not going to tell you who I am straight off the start. What the fuck, you crazy? Comes at a premium. But yeah, don't you feel kind of dirty? I feel like small talk is such a fucking dirty practice. Because you got to offer these things about your life. Someone you don't give a fuck about? Fuck that. Yeah. So I always yeah. I think that's why I use humor. I don't think I'm a funny person. I think I just use the tool of humor to try to get out of social situations, And I've used certain tools long enough, to where I know when to use them. So I'm not actually a funny person. I just have been using hammers and screwdrivers for so long that when people hit me with the same stupid fucking questions, I know that I should just probably hammer that nail. I'm actually just a computer. I recognize patterns and then I provide the solutions to them based off of what I've seen in my past. All my conversations aren't actually real. They're just repeats of things I've heard. I've never actually had an original conversation or thought. It's true. Can you believe that? Even everything I've said to you now, this isn't the first time I've said it. Isn't it interesting? There's like a word out there that I've never said, but I don't know what it is. That's kind of dope. I think it's dope that it's like words that I don't know. What am I talking about? Anyways, Alex and I talked about things, and then we walked around after getting some Davis Creamery, and then he was like, hey, by the way, there's themed bowling night tonight. It's emo night. And I was like, oh, okay. That's what I usually do when someone puts forward some upcoming plans. I always go, oh, okay. Just because it's not like a yes or no. I'm just like, okay, do you have more information? Before I really commit one way or another. Because yeah, you hear emo bowling night and you're like, so is that something I want to be a part of? That one would want to be a part of? Are you saying this because you want me to go? Or are you just telling me what you're doing later to show you're cooler than me? No. What's my role here now in this conversation? Do I invite myself? Oh, emo bowling night? Can I come? Because then what's he going to say? No. Then I got to, eat my sorrows away and gain weight, and I can't do that. I don't look good unless I look like I'm starving. That's what every model has taught me. You have to look like a starving person that only eats soup, or else you're a fucking loser. But yeah, he was like, emo bowling nights tonight. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, it's at 8 o'clock. I was like, okay, we're getting more details. He's like, yeah, I'm going with a group of people. I was like, okay. Who are these people? He's like, yeah, JJ's going to be there. My neighbor's going to be there. This person might be there. I was like, oh, okay. So now I like the cast so far. This is good. I could see this. But then he hits me with an invite. He's like, you can come if you want to. I was like, really? I was like, And that was on our way to dinner. So then afterwards, he was like, by the way, when we're getting back to his apartment at 7:37, he was like, so what are you doing later today? I was like, really nothing. He was like, so you want to come bowling night? I was like, sure. He was like, yes. He was like, I was actually hoping you'd come. I'm like, why didn't you just fucking invite me? I'm like, why do we have to do this weird fucking thing of testing out if I was interested or not? Just tell me, hey, do you want to come to this? I'll go. It's Saturday. What, you think I have plans? No. So we went to bowling night and it was at 8 p.m. And I didn't know this, but Alex bowls. I don't think he goes bowling, but he's a good bowler. And he was being very coy in the beginning. He was being very subtle. I was like, what score do you usually get? He was like, I don't know. I was like, all right. So he doesn't bowl that often. Motherfucker, in the first game, got 5 strikes in a row. I was like, excuse you? What do you mean you don't know what score you get? You fucking played us. But then I forgot this about myself. Well, first of all, I forgot this about Alex. And it's nice to be reminded of it sometimes. When people are attractive, smart, funny, sometimes you start to forget someone's that way. And then they have these little moments where they remind you that they're one of these 3 things. Well, then there's something that Alex reminded me about himself. I forgot that this motherfucker was so competitive. I forgot that about him. I told you we're good friends, but we don't talk that often. So sometimes you forget these things about a person. But that motherfucker is so competitive. He kills us in the first game. But then I also realized something about myself. I forgot that. Oh yeah, I think I'm also competitive, but it's like I'm like a closeted competitive. I'm not like outwardly. Actually, no. It's not even that I'm closeted competitive. I think I'm out as a competitive person, but I'm not a very flamboyant competitive person. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not competitive with a lot of flair. I'm just a very like subtle competitive. And so when I saw Alex was like, right when he got a turkey, 3 strikes, I was like, all right, motherfucker, like in my head. And so I actually think I started to like, just something in me was like, well, now you got to do better. And my highest score in bowling for the longest of time has been, I think, like 130 something. And then we played 5 games of bowling. And can I read you my scores? It's fucking. Let me see if I. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, in the first game, Alex got 214, which I've never bowled with someone that's gotten over 200, but he got 214 and I got 167. So already, like, I got fucked by him. And so I was like, shit. I was like, I can beat this guy though. Like, I saw, the last frame, he only got a 9. I was like, okay, so he bleeds. I can beat this motherfucker. But I got 167. I didn't even get time to like reflect on. I just got the highest score I've ever gotten because Alex got 214. So I was like, well, I can't appreciate my 167. So then the next 3 games I beat Alex. The next game I got 153. The game after that I got 157. The game after that I got 135. And then the next game, the 5th game, Alex came back. He got 173, but I got 165. It came down to the last frame and I fucking missed a spare. I was so upset. Not outwardly, but inside I was like, fuck. But all of that aside, I think I'm the real winner here because after the second game, when I actually beat Alex, he said something that was music to my ears. He said, it's interesting. I don't remember the last time someone's beat me in bowling. And I was like, oh. I don't know where it came from, and I don't even do it, but I started smoking a cigarette. That felt so good when he said that. I was like, can you say that again to me? Oh my God, I loved that for some reason. Seeing a competitive person. Also, he was kind of cocky the first game, too. Astrid and I, the girl there, she and I were kind of relating on, we kind of bonded over our hatred towards how good he was. But he started getting real cocky. So Astrid shout to Astrid. She started like cheering me on. And I think that's what made me do so well. I was like, I got this crowd. I got to perform. But yeah, we both were like really relishing in the fact that Alex finally got beat by someone. And luckily, I got to be the person that beat him off of his pedestal. Jesus, would you think I was going to stop there? God. This was at 8 p.m. We didn't do that till later. Okay, no. But yeah, no, it felt good to just like beat someone that was so competitive 3 games in a row. But then he won. So it was like 3-2. I came back. I came out of that night, winning. So then we went to this like party. It wasn't a party. It was a outdoor concert for like 50 people. And that was great. Everyone there was, smoking grass and putting their bare feet in grass. Both things I don't do. Not because I'm not cool, just allergies. I can't put my bare feet in grass and smoke weed because I have allergies. If I can't even walk around in grass, what, you think I can smoke grass? I'm just kidding. Imagine that, someone being like, hey, you want to hit? And it's like, oh, sorry, no, I have allergies. They're like, what? It's like, I'm just wildly allergic to grass. And they're like, you don't. Okay, never mind. I can't believe I was going to waste my fucking joint on your dumbass. But yeah, there was this outdoor concert, and wow, I've never seen so many people with bare feet. If you have a foot fetish, that would have been your fucking thing. You would have had such a good time looking at people's feet because the music wasn't great. So what else are you going to do, But then after that, I think it was around like 11:40 or something. We're like, well, what do we do now? And Alex was like, we can go back to bowling. I should have known this motherfucker was up to something. And so everyone agreed, and they're like, "Does that sound good to you, Garv?" I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. I'm down to bowl." And Alex was like, "You ready to go at it again?" I was like, "Yeah." And then Astrid was like, "You ready to beat him again?" I was like, "Oh, definitely." Because emo night ran till 1 a.m. So we still had like an hour to get a game in. So we get there and we start playing billiards because there were no open lanes yet. And then actually they said something to me. We started playing billiards and people were like, "Oh, when's, you always do the normal conversation whenever you do an activity." People are like, "Oh, have you done this activity?" And so people are like, "Have you played billiards?" I was like, "I honestly, like, no shit, can't remember the last time I played pool or billiards, whatever the fuck you call it." And they're like, "Okay, okay." And so everyone gets, you know, their hits in or whatever the fuck you call I don't know what it's called. They shoot. I don't know if that's what it's called. And everyone was like pretty okay. Well, there was one guy. There was one guy we met at the party outdoor concert thing. He joined us and he went to hit the cue ball, right? The white ball. And that shit fully skipped off of our table, hit another table, and then almost hit someone. And I felt bad because then, we go through the cycle again and we get to him and you're like, "Hey, do you want to try again?" And he's like, "I'm good." And he walked away and I never saw him later that night. I felt so bad. I've never seen someone like get so demoralized over like fucking up in pool so bad. I was like, it's not even like a cool game. I'm sorry that like you had to excuse yourself from the social experience because this stupid fucking game made for people that suck at golf kind of like got you down. I'm so sorry, man. But then we eventually get to me, and I like shoot or whatever the fuck it's called. And then Alex was like, "Fuck you." I was like, "What?" He was like, "You played pool before." I was like, "Yeah, I've played before, but I'm not like, I don't play it." He was like, "When's the last time you played?" I was like I said, I was like, "I really can't tell you the last time I played." Like Intel has a pool table. So like the interns, when I was an intern, we would always play. So I was like, that was 3 years ago. So that's probably the last time I played pool. He was like, "No, you play pool." I was like, "Are you gaslighting me about like when the last time I played pool was?" I'm like, "I don't think I played pool." He's like, "No, you definitely have." I'm like, "No, yeah, no, I have, didn't I? Yeah, I did that last week." But yeah, it's good to know that I'm like okay at pool. Like it was all of them. I think there were like 8 of us there. Everyone was like, "Hey, you're good." I was like, "Oh, thanks." But then I knew I got fucking hustled because our bowling lane opened up and we go to bowl. And oh my God, you would have thought that Alex had kids and I was holding them hostage. And like, or not even me, just someone was like, "If you don't beat everyone in bowling, I'm going to murder your entire family." Alex was playing like he had something on the line. It was fucking insane. Motherfucker got like 3 strikes, like to start off. I think in that game he only bowled strikes and spares. I was like, "What the fuck, man?" And so he tied up the score, and it was 3-3. And don't worry, he let me know as we left a couple times. He was like, "Yeah, so I guess we ended the night tying, didn't we?" I was like, "Uh huh. That's how numbers work." But it was nice. It was nice to see someone care about something that doesn't fucking matter. I really like those people. Like anyone that's like takes a lot of hard work to like do something that doesn't matter, like bowling or like, you know, seeing who can tie their shoe the fastest. Like those, I love those people because it's so easy to like get to them. You just have to be better than them, you know? I'm just kidding. But it's really nice to see someone like so competitive. I feel like a lot of people aren't competitive because they have like social etiquette, but to see someone like just so outwardly like, "I want to kick all of your asses," I loved it. I loved it so much because we started talking shit all over those 6 games, and it was a good time. It was a good time. That's also another thing I realized. I think I'm a fake person because I've gone bowling now 3 times in the past 4 weekends, which, by the way, it's not like that's who I am. I know I always have a one-on-one with my manager on Mondays, and he always asks me, he's like, "What'd you do over the weekend?" And the past 2 weekends or whatever, I was like, I went bowling. He was like, "So you bowl, huh?" I was like, "No, it's not like a thing. I don't remember the last time I bowled outside of these 2 weekends. It just has happened." And he's like, "At this point, I think you just got to own it." And so now, later today, I'm going to have that one-on-one with him. And she'll be like, "What'd you do?" And I'm like, "Well, okay. You remember I said I'm not like a person that bowls? Well, I did it again." And it's like, at what point does that just become who you are? You know? Like I told my mom this today. I was like, how many pepperoni pizzas before you're not a vegetarian? You know? It's like, oh yeah, I'll have a slice. It's like, didn't you just, I thought you were vegetarian. It's like, yeah, well, it's one slice. It's like, well, how many just one slices is it going to be, Deborah? Okay? At what point is this lie going to catch up to you? But yeah, something I've noticed, I'm a very fake person. I've gone bowling now 3 weekends in this past month, and I always stay like right around the person's score that I'm bowling. Like the best person. Like the first 2 times I was just with one person. But then this time I was bowling like with a group, but I was always like staying with Alex, which was like the best bowler. I was like, oh my God. I'm one of those people, people like change their energy when they hang out with like a certain person. I change how good I am at bowling depending on who I'm with. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm a fake motherfucker. I don't do it knowingly though. It's not like I turn on this thing. It just happens. So I'm sorry, but I'm a fake person. I code switch, but for bowling. Anyways, thanks for listening. And just know that the t-shirt I'm wearing still has its tag on it, and it's been cutting into my back for the past 46 minutes. So I'll talk to you next week. Okay? Bye.